Hey, Sean, good to see you. Thanks for taking some time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, Heather. Good to see you too.
Just want to talk about Star coming back and just, I guess, first of all, what are your expectations for him? And, just based on any conversations that you've had with him, where's he at with, just getting in shape and getting ready for the season after not playing for a full year last year?
Yeah, there's definitely been a gap in terms of his playing of late, just in terms of him being here. So there is there's going to be some catching up to do. It is good to have him here and participating. I'm sure his teammates feel the same way. And so, he can help us. We all know that. It's just he's going to have to he's going to have to continue to put the work in to get himself back acclimated, comfortable, if you will, Heather, and ready to go.
And from your perspective, just what do you get by having him back this season that maybe you guys were missing last year on that D line in the middle there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we'll have to see because of the time he's been out. So that remains to be seen. Overall, size, there's some leadership, a leadership component he brings to our team as well, more by example than verbally. But the early down ability to give us a point of attack up front is what I remember the most.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Good morning, Sean. John Worrell.
Hi, John. Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you. In the same respect, is there any way of quantifying in your mind, or maybe in analytics or what have you, how much Star's presence was missed by this defense last season?
Yeah, I won't speak from an analytics standpoint. I'll just speak from my standpoint. I mean, look, you play and you go with who you got. And I'm extremely proud of what we were able to do last year on that side of the ball up front. Can Star help us? Yes, he can. But that, again, remains to be seen because of Heather's question, how much time he's missed. So, there's a lot that has to be played out between now and the time that we tee it up against Pittsburgh. And so we all have a tremendous amount of work to do. And in this case, Star does as well.
And just from a personal standpoint, knowing that you've known Star for quite some time, what's it like just to see him back in the building?
Yeah, on a personal level, it's great. Care for him, care for his family. I'm glad that he's in a good space to be back here. And it's nice to see him back in his element around his teammates that I know he cares for and loves so much.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, good morning. Thanks for the time. Just in quantifying being able to retain all three of your coordinators again this year, might the biggest benefit be able to at least have carve out more time for maybe some of the finer points of the game, the nuances of the game, to kind of get a competitive advantage because you already have the foundation? I know you're a fundamentals guy, but I mean, you have maybe a little more time to dig into the finer points to gain some competitive advantages, situational, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a value in the cohesiveness of the group, no doubt, in that cohesion, Chris. And, within that, though, you have to also be careful not to get stale, and that you have to always embrace the growth mindset to continue to grow, continue to push the envelope. And so, but going back to the foundation of your question, there is that familiarity, and that also allows us to take further steps into those finer points, the more granular pieces of the game. And it seems like we're always chasing it, even though we have been together for a few years now.
Super. Thanks, Coach.
Coach Mookie Hawkins, Waffle Sports Cincinnati. How you doing, sir?
Good, Mookie. How are you, buddy?
Doing excellent, Coach. How impressed were you just to see Star stay on task with his body, and how important is it to have him back with new defensive line coach Bobby Johnson?
Well, you mean Eric Washington?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, Coach. Yeah, Eric Washington. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, again, good to have Star back. A lot of work to be had and done here, and he's going to have to continue it. 2 or 3 days here is not going to check the box, right? He's got a lot of work to do when he gets back home, and it's nice to have him reunited with Eric in our building, at least for the next couple of days here, and we'll see what he looks like on the field today.
Right. And speaking of those next couple of days, man, just how excited are you just to really get back to business?
Great to have the team here, Mookie. Great to have everyone here. Certainly appreciate everyone's participation. This is how you build a team. It's hard to build a team when you're spread throughout the United States or other parts of our country and different countries, if you will. And that's no way to build a team, a good team. And that's what we're trying to do. And so I appreciate everyone being here.
Appreciate your time, Coach.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, I know you've been able to get a glimpse of some of these position groups through OTAs, but what are you hoping to see from this cornerback group as you guys head into minicamp this week?
You say corner or quarter?
Yeah, corner.
Cornerback, yeah. I just think really it's, we know who we are in certain positions at certain depth levels, Maddie, and I want to see these young guys and what they can do against good competition. I feel strongly that we have some good depth on the other side of the ball that's going to test them. And so it'll be interesting to see who takes advantage of the opportunity and on a consistent basis, day in and day out here. So I think we have a little bit of a tell to this point, but we're really not playing football yet. And we won't today either, but excuse me, we'll get a chance to see him against, Diggs and Emmanuel and the like. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. Good morning. You've now had Greg Rousseau in that rookie minicamp environment, then 3 weeks of OTAs. What have you learned about him in this last month so far?
Yeah, he's very diligent in his approach. He's in here early, he stays late. It's important to him. He's developing a good foundation of habits, which is important. He really embraces that growth mindset in terms of wanting to learn something new every day, wanting to be the best, and putting in the time to become the best at what he does. So I think that's really what I've learned to this point. The other piece you guys can see, he's long, and so that's at this point what I know for sure. So after that, it's all been a flash here, a flash there, or would just be on my part of projection, which I don't want to get into right now. So.
Mm-hmm. And then with with the young players, I mean AJ, Boogie, Greg, whether it's in this week at minicamp or in training camp, how much is Jerry and Mario going to mean for this group of young players?
Yeah, well, it's good to have them here, number one, so they can impart some knowledge on the young players. I think that's a step in the right direction. And yes, as I said before, being in person certainly helps build those bonds to where you can build a relationship that's necessary in order to speak the truth into the young guys' lives in terms of what works, what doesn't work at this level, what to be prepared for. We try and do a good job of that as a staff. That being said, it's to have that player-driven leadership. It provides another angle and an important one for us.
Mm-hmm. And you said Jerry and Mario are there for minicamp?
They are. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep. You got it.
Hi, Sean. Curious what your expectations are for Ed Oliver as he enters his third season.
Yeah, I mean, it's to affect the game, right? I mean, he's a top pick. He's here to affect the quarterback, affect the game, and this will be an opportunity for him to develop into a consistent performer for us. I really appreciate the way he's worked. I think his off season to this point has been one that is going to put him in a position to do what I just mentioned. But again, the work remains, and there's a lot of work to be done. So, there's an element of physical skill. There's also an element of the mental approach to the game, and those two have to come together for players to become elite at what they do. So I know he's hard at work at combining those two to improve his game.
I know you said you're not quite playing football yet here in the spring, but what have your early impressions been of how Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace have handled, the very early stages of what looks like could be a pretty good competition in camp?
Yeah, just like I'd expect, just like we'd expect. They're pros. They're all class all the time, mature beyond their years. You guys have had a chance to interact with those two young men. They're Buffalo Bills in the way that they handle themselves, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. Adam Benini. I wanted to go back to something you had said the last time we talked to you. I believe it was at the start of OTAs, right? On the vaccination issue in general, and that you were concerned about it. Understandably, you gave a pretty frank answer there. How is that progressing? And when you answered Mookie's question a short time ago, you said this is how you build a football team. I guess, where's your level of concern? What's the level of communication? How is that issue being managed? And how is it impacting preparations under the circumstances and the protocols you do have to deal with right now?
Yeah, man, there's a lot to that question, Adam. So I'm going to do my best to answer. A little bit. It's like, hey, where do you want to start, right? We're trying to do our best to educate, build awareness. At the end of the day, the players in this case that you're referring to have to make their own decision. We feel like we know in our country and around the league where and how things are improving. And it's, to me, there's a direct correlation to people getting vaccinated. So again, I would like to continue to see our team move in that direction, continue to move an increased number of people that are getting vaccinated. Certainly respect everyone's position, that being said. So that's really where I'm at, where we're at, and it's good to have the guys here. I think the reality of our situation is that, now, but also for sure come the fall, training camp, protocols are going to continue to be enforced, in particular for those who are unvaccinated, as it relates to the masking and the different things that are in place. So just trying to be real about it and make sure everyone understands what normal is going to look like, in particular for those that are unvaccinated come the fall.
Just a short answer follow. Do you feel better about that now than maybe you did the last time we talked to you?
Better?
Better,
yeah. I feel better. Yeah, I feel better. I feel like we're moving in the right direction. And the important piece is that we continue to, again, build awareness and continue to move in the right direction.
All right, Sean, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, good morning, Sean. How's it going?
Good to see you.
Want to ask about the running backs. I guess first of all, with Zach Moss still rehabbing his foot or ankle, what's his expected timeline as far as when he'll be ready to start actually participating in drills?
Yeah, probably more like training camp. Marcel, he's just done a phenomenal job rehabbing. It's been a long process, and as I've alluded to before, whether it's Zach or a couple of the other guys, Cody Ford in particular, then Josh Thomas and Isaiah are a little bit more ahead of those two other guys. It's a long road, and to show the discipline, consistency, commitment, it takes a lot to stick with it, and they've done a great job. For those two, Cody and Zach in particular, they really haven't been able to get back out there to where I'm sure that they would like to at this point. So we look forward to getting them back at training camp.
Gotcha. And I guess in Zach's absence, I know you don't like saying you have a feature back, but it was sort of trending toward the end of the season. But in his absence this offseason, what have you seen from a supposedly refocused or re-energized Devin Singletary or Christian Wade, Antonio Williams, even Matt Breida? What have you seen from the rest of that group?
Yeah, competitive. They're dialed in terms of the details of the job. Devin in particular, I think, is really trying to master the small things that come up down in and down out when you're playing all three downs, whether it's protection, some of the discipline that comes with those things. So I've really been impressed with his attention to detail the last couple of days.
And like, if I don't know, do you see that timeshare kind of working out, or is it too early to say? Like, are they still a 1A, 1B situation, or is this a situation where you're looking for a guy to kind of assert himself as the leader in the room?
Yeah, just for your knowledge and everyone out there, I mean, there's really not a depth chart. I mean, there is and there isn't, because someone's got to go out there first this time of year. But depth charts really don't mean as much as this time of year as much as they'll mean in training camp, or at least midway through towards the end of training camp.
Yeah, I figured. Either way, appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, likewise.
Hey, Sean, it's Jay with the Buffalo News. Kind of continuing on the theme of the running game. You mentioned a day or two after you lost to the Chiefs that running the ball better would be a goal. I guess just what importance do you put on that, knowing that, you finished number 2 in yards, you finished number 2 in points. You've got a franchise quarterback who you want throwing the ball. So, excuse me. So how do you balance that? How do you place an importance, I guess, if you will, on the value of the running game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing I could say, Jay, without giving away, strategy and everything here, is you have to evolve. You got to evolve with the game. The word balance gets thrown out there. I'm not sure that that's always the right thing. I think at the end of the day, what does it take to win the game? What does it take to develop the offense in training camp? What does it take to close out games? So it's always moving in terms of that bullseye, right? So depending on us, depending on the opponent, depending on the situation, there's other ways to be balanced without being balanced. So again, without getting too much into strategy and what happens inside our walls here, but I do believe in you win up front. You've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage, whether you're throwing it or running it, in order to put up points. So I think that's been proven over the years.
And secondly, you've talked a lot about how growing the game is important to you. Your involvement with the women in football at the combine, that kind of thing. How neat is it for you to see both FA and Christian on your roster, knowing the path that they brought to the NFL, and just, both, fighting for a job on your roster, knowing where they came from?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to watch the way the NFL has grown the game, to watch now the 2 players that you mentioned. There's others in the league still that are in those same positions to impact the game, grow the game. I can't imagine what it would be like for me to trade places with them and to try and make a team and try and impact the game the way that those 2 have it, the way that they've impacted us. I mean, Christian's been with us a few more years than FAF. He's been with us a few months now, but just having both of those young men in our building is what the impact it's made on our team, on our program, on our organization, in the community. They're just positive guys with great energy. And I saw recently that I think the NFL is talking about going and expanding overseas again. So I think it's great for our game, great for the people involved.
Cool. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. Mark Vaughn here. Thanks for your time. Couple of things. How many days are you going? 2 days or 3 days in this mini camp? And then kickoff return duty. Obviously, you have a big person to replace there. How do you see that? And is it really a case where maybe, thankfully, there's preseason this year? Because I don't think many teams, nobody in the NFL really hardly ever practices kickoff return full speed. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So as far as the length of our week, we'll see. Right now we're scheduled for 3. We'll see what happens with that. I want to get a good practice in today and just take them one at a time, Mark, and we'll move on from there. As far as the kickoff return and just return duties overall, it's open competition. We had a pretty good one last year in Andre Roberts. He has since moved on. And so that job is up for grabs, as are many other jobs. So that has to be earned, and there's a trust that comes with that, right? Because of how important that ball, that change of possession is, going one way or the other. So, and playing that position in Buffalo, New York is not easy with the way the wind blows, and we get some weather from time to time. So it becomes a real art form and science with it that you got to really put a lot of time into that. So I know Heath, Matt Smiley, and the return group right now is hard at work to continue to refine those skills.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good morning, Sean. How you doing?
Good, Sal. How are you?
I am good. Since you're not coming to visit me in Rochester this summer, I wanted to ask about training camp. We haven't talked to you since, but the question I'm asking is,
I didn't know I
you
had
like-
a place to stay at your house. Maybe that would have changed our mind. Maybe I didn't realize I had a room.
You're always welcome here, Sean, anytime. What I wanted to ask though, I know you said you're in favor of going away and camaraderie, but when you look at it from a aspect of practice and getting things done, do you think you could be more efficient just by staying where you are because everything's all in place? But do you expect training camp might be more efficient because you're not packing up and going on the road for 3 weeks?
We do. I feel confident in the job that we've done operationally, is what you're referring to, is the operation. And our staff does a great job in terms of the operation of it all, being efficient. And that's important, right? That you can be efficient with the time that you have, where you are, and that you can get things accomplished that you want to get accomplished. And I felt really good about that up at Fisher, and I feel really good about it here as well. And we showed that last year. And so obviously there's protocols and layers on things this year. Last year we weren't allowed to go away anyway, but the layers that are on it this year do make it a challenge. And so, the decision was made to stay here.
Okay, and if I could ask you too about the wide receiver room, obviously the top of it is pretty stacked. What's it going to take for a guy like, for instance, like Hodgins to do something to make that final 53 minutes? A guy you drafted, a guy you clearly liked before he got hurt. Specifically about him, what does he need to show you to get on this team?
Yeah, Sal, you've been around it like I have. Those things have a way of working themselves out. When I was around Andy Reid in Philadelphia for years, he always told the guys never to count the numbers and the lines, right? Just make your reps count. And that's the piece that those players can control. A guy like Isaiah, as you mentioned, I think is off to a phenomenal start, again, because of his process in the offseason, getting himself healthy. And now here we stand in the last week of offseason practices. And I think he's putting himself in position to make a real move. And so that remains to be seen, obviously, with work to be done. But I'm very proud of his mindset and the way he's gotten himself physically ready to go.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sean.
You got it.
Hey, Sean, Jason Wolf with the Buffalo News. Appreciate your time.
Sure, Jason.
You spoke a little while ago about how the consistency among your coaching staff can be a little bit of a double-edged sword because you have to guard against, getting stale. I was curious how the addition of Mitch Trubisky to the quarterback room, Emmanuel Sanders to the wide receivers group might affect Josh Allen in that regard, help maybe keep him sharp or on his toes with, new teammates to work with.
Yeah, those have been really good additions to our team. Obviously, it's early. It all starts with and ends with who they are as people, and the early returns on both of those two guys that you mentioned, Mitch and Emmanuel, are phenomenal. Good people, want to work hard. It's important to them. They're passionate about the game, and so they've added to our team already in the short amount of time they've been with us. And I think that the future remains to be seen on the field. The impact of what you can measure on the field that they'll have on our football team, right? In terms of numbers, all that type of stuff. But to this point, very pleased with what they've added to our team.
How about the way that Josh has kind of responded to adding some new teammates, because you have returned so many players on offense?
Yeah, Josh he's just unique in that way that very few things faze him in terms of whether you keep a guy. He has all these guys that we've kept from a cohesiveness standpoint. You bring in certain other guys now, as you mentioned, add to the mix. He's very embracing, inviting that way, and yet I think sees it as a challenge. Also to show those guys what he has, right? I mean, that's kind of the unique nature of Josh and his personality, and I think that bodes well as well. He's a competitor. He wants to win, and he respects the guys that can help us win, and so it's been fun to watch those relationships get off the ground and start to build and become special. I mean, Emmanuel this morning shared with the team a little bit of his story, and I think the guys really appreciated and respected what he shared.
Great. Thanks so much.
You got it.